Hello, my name is Dennis Bihus, and you're watching Our Money, a program on anti-corruption investigations. Members of Parliament have made anti-corruption activists equal to their own precious selves. The Parliament did not cancel mandatory declarations for civil activists or anyone who is in any way involved in any anti-corruption programs in Ukraine. Now, all these people will have to file declarations, the same as MPs do. And I hope they will do it better, because the MPs themselves have found a lot of loopholes to mitigate the declaration procedure. Sometimes they do it in very original ways, sometimes the classic way. Today, Marina Antsiforova will tell you about the power of a father-in-law of a certain popular media character. Anton Herashchenko, where did he come from? When I was a governor, he was my head of administration. He was a successful one. Interior Minister Arsen Avakov and People's Deputy Anton Herashchenko both began their careers in the Kyiv region. When Avakov became the minister, he made his associate Herashchenko his advisor. When Arsen Avakov changed the Fatherland Party for the People's Front, he took his advisor with him. Since then, Anton Herashchenko has become an expert on all high-profile attacks, protests, bombings, and crimes. The last year, Nadia Savchenko was touring military units, conducting, so to say, propaganda and sabotage. The perpetrator is the 20-year-old bag who was given a Lexus for her 18th birthday. This is an example of how the Anti-Corruption Bureau is used to sully Arsen Avakov's good name. Later, Herashchenko stops being Avakov's advisor, but continues commenting on everything law enforcement and then on everything on the news. He is totally politically bankrupt in his own country, so he will do anything to get the support of the Ukrainian people. This is nonsense. Why is he saying it? I don't know, maybe he took some pills from his brother and gave an interview like that. You are asking questions about the state enterprise OSS. Please refer to the enterprise itself to get the information you seek. The all-purpose news analyst Anton Herashchenko allows himself to divulge investigation details and to name the guilty party before the court does. Let's see if he is worthy of trust himself. If an official has never worked in business or anywhere and acquired hundreds of thousands of dollars, there should be an inspection. Without any grounds, there should be no inspection. But honest people shouldn't be afraid of checks. Herashchenko insists that he is not afraid of inspections, but his declarations give ample reason to do it. In 2016, in the second year of his MP status, the Kharkiv-born MP changes apartments in Kyiv, moving from the less prestigious left bank to the city center, in a 200-square-meter flat in one of the most popular houses in the expensive Pechersk district. I wanted to rent the flat to be close to work, spacious, and meeting all of our needs. The flat had to be spacious because Herashchenko wrote in his declaration that he lives there with a big family. If we are to believe the declaration, it is the father-in-law who pays the rent, because Herashchenko's family savings would have lasted only for a year or two, and the MP's and his wife's annual salaries for about 4 months, while for 6 months without food. You know, I can't afford to buy this flat. We rent it together with my father-in-law. That suits us. Any issues with the flat were financially closed by the MP's 62-year-old father-in-law, Alexei Shambor. And there are some issues. An elite high-rise, 20 minutes on foot to Kreshchatyk, the same to Kyiv-Pechersk-Lavra, 3 minutes to Pecherska metro station, but it's unlikely that Herashchenko uses public transport. The flats of Oleg Lyashko, Andriy Portnov, and Yana Hlushenko, a judge of Kyiv Administrative Court of Appeal, are in the same building. Not the cheapest place to rent a flat, especially a 200-square-meter one. A flat this large can be rented for a minimum of $2,500. Usually it is $3,000 to $3,500 and more, because the cost doesn't depend on square meters as much as it does on the renovation quality, furniture, and appliances inside. It's peculiar that the father-in-law, who pays a hefty price for the flat every month, doesn't even live there. We tried to give a small gift to Alexei Shambor, but it turns out that while he pays for the flat, he lives where he had before, and that's not even in Kyiv. I have a package for you. Can you get it in Poltava? Let's say today? I can get it tomorrow, not today. I'll get it tomorrow. Do you permanently live in Poltava? Yes, of course. The person paying several $1,000s for a flat in Kyiv lives in Poltava. Why not? I called your father-in-law and he said he permanently lives in Poltava. He visits us from time to time. He lives with us for 6 months to help look after our newborn, and now he visits us regularly. So he visits you and rents the flat? This is legal. Of course it's legal, and it seems that his father-in-law really loves him, because he doesn't only pay for the 200 square meter flat for Herashchenko's family, but also for the new Hyundai Santa Fe, which the MP uses to commute to work every day. 2016 was full of events for the father-in-law. He had registered as an entrepreneur, bought the Santa Fe, gave it to his son-in-law, rented an expensive flat, gave it to his son-in-law. He has spent on his relatives a total of $115,000, while his business is not that profitable. He lives in Poltava, and his income is $7,500 in 8 years. How can he own the car you drive, have savings of several $1,000s, and rent your flat? He has rights. He doesn't have to answer you. I understand, but I want to know how if he doesn't have the money. He has the money. How? His savings. He saved when he was doing business. However, the father-in-law became a businessman in the same year, in 2016. No business before that, at least officially. After this version collapsed, Herashchenko came up with a new one, as if the father-in-law saved it all up 20 years ago. You're a looker, but a liar. He was a businessman in the 1990s. The money spent on rent could be used to buy a flat. Not in Pechersk district, of course. Certain circumstances make us think that Herashchenko had actually bought one, even two, in Pechersk. You know I can't afford to buy this flat. The floor plan of the building shows 2 flats. It's strange that both have the same number, one of them marked with A, as if it's a single flat. And the floor is all locked up. Well, screw this. You see, it just doesn't work. You can go to flats here and here, but you can't go to the 2 flats which are rented by the Herashchenkos. The second elevator is blocked in the same way. The staircase exit is closed too. Not a typical situation when you rent one flat on a floor. This is the building where Alexander Danielko lives, the owner of the flat rented by Anton Herashchenko. It's the end of Tryashina, not the best neighborhood. That's where he lives. Alexander Danielenko owns 2 flats on the same floor. MP Herashchenko rents either one or both of them. Danielenko himself, quite surprisingly, lives on the outskirts of Tryashina, the most distant residential district in Kyiv. Pretty whimsical for a person who owns 2 flats worth around $400,000. Can you tell me, please, if I can find him here? Maybe I should come later or leave you my number. He comes home very late. If you come here at 2 a.m., maybe he'll be here. A couple of days in waiting, and here he is, the Pechersk landlord himself. I wanted to ask you about your flats on Shorsha Street, which you rented out to Anton Herashchenko. The answer was rather surprising. Anton Herashchenko doesn't rent it. What do you mean? He lives there. On the second try, the owner of the luxury flats remembered being the owner of the luxury flats. How do you earn money? Why do I have to tell? Because he rents them while you live here in Treyeshina having 3 flats. I pay taxes for those flats, so what? How do you earn? What's your income? What of it? Could you please tell me your income? I've earned money since 1990. I see. What's your job? You have almost no official income. I have. His official income is very humble, as is his lifestyle. Do you know what Alexander Denilenko does? 1.5 years ago, we decided to find a flat. We considered more than 10 options. We visited each one and so on. Adding to the collection of weird coincidences, during the filming of this episode, one of the 2 flats on Herashchenko's floor got a new owner. The MP's new neighbor is a lawyer who worked with Herashchenko's assistant also in 2016. Many lawyers represent a lot of MPs, who they cooperate with in legislative work. Did you cooperate? No, I never have. The fact that the actual owner of the luxury flat lives on the outskirts and the MP's new neighbor had worked with Herashchenko's assistant doesn't prove that the flats belong to somebody else. But the rather telling situation with Herashchenko's wealthy father-in-law makes you think. If Herashchenko really doesn't earn much and lives at his relative's expense, would he pay $3,000 per month to rent a flat, or would he buy one instead? This question is rhetorical. A month ago, I told you about the horrible event when the office of our colleagues was burned. During the investigation of corruption in a local college, their office was burned. Moreover, even the spokespeople of the investigation received threats. I promised then that you would surely see the investigation in our program. Before we start, I want to say that I'm deeply convinced that everything showed is a characteristic not only of the Rivne Medical College. This is a systematic problem with hundreds of Ukrainian higher education institutions. It's just that most have it less pronounced. Next, Fourth Power Agency. During the matriculation, yesterday's school students don white coats. Soon, these people will swear the medical worker's oath. They will swear to be honest and conscientious. And that's no coincidence, because lives will depend on their honesty, conscience, and knowledge. The lives of patients who will trust them, and I only wonder which of the medical workers just bought the exams and diplomas, but didn't buy any knowledge. This is a win-win situation. You just go like to a shop, pay money, and get what you want. You just buy it. I can't even say they do it in secret or something. Ola is a student. She compares her college to a shop, the Rivne State Medical College. For the last 3 years, 3 professors were caught taking bribes. The girl went to the college straight after secondary school, dreaming to become a doctor. She was disappointed in just the first weeks there. When I went to my first exam, my mom told me not to worry, that everything will be okay. There was this professor. She was a middlewoman, and another one was too. And the person who paid for me gave her the money. She gave the other, and ultimately it reached the main person there. How much are we talking about? $3,000 to enroll in the state-funded medical care program. Alexander is an MD, an alum of the Ivano-Frankivsk National Medical University. At first, he enrolled in the Rivne Medical College, but he quitted after the first mid-year exams. He blames corruption. When I was applying for the college, they told me that there were no state-funded places left. I said that I can pass the exams myself. They told me that they would make me fail, that I wouldn't pass the exams. Told me that I just don't understand, that's how things work here. It's a tradition, blah, blah, blah. I was like, what tradition? That's just a bribe. Half of the 25 interviewed students and alumni of the medical college admitted being asked for $1,000 to $4,000 to be enrolled in state-funded programs. One alum said she had to pay $200 to study on a self-funded program. The students say that bribery begins at the admissions exams and continues on regular exam sessions. The class leader approached the professor and asked about the prices. He told her. Then she returned and told us which grade costs which money. Then we chose a convenient day and brought the money. The professor made a list of desired grades and money given. Then we gave the professor our record books. Third best grade costs around $10, second best costs around $15, and the top grade is $20 and more. 23 out of 25 interviewed students and alumni of the college confirmed that buying grades is a common practice there. Students who paid can even skip some courses entirely. Usually, the first to pay gets the best grades. Most of the professors just imitate working. So you come, you take your paper. If it's an exam, if it's anything less, you just sit for a while and leave. If it's an exam, you submit an empty paper and the professor does their job. Usually, the minimal price for an exam session is $60, the average being $150. The grades are bought by groups of students. Co-eds may pitch in for their students who refuse to pay the bribe. Later, though, those who refuse will still pay. They are harassed. They are directly told that they won't get a good grade. It's hinted that further studying will get really hard for them. If it's the final year, then their graduation is put in question. Almost all of your co-eds are on one side, while almost all the professors are on the other. It's easier to say who doesn't take bribes. I've only had 2, maybe 3 professors who didn't take bribes on principle. 95%, an overwhelming majority. Meet the leader of this big team. This is the head, Rostislav Sambadishin, full professor, MD, PhD, merited doctor of Ukraine. And he doesn't like the questions about bribery in his college. Why don't you go to other institutions which have real problems? Aren't you ashamed of yourself? His 2-year-old declaration allows us to calculate that his annual salary is $23,000, around $2,000 per month. It is the second highest among similar positions in Ukraine. According to official regulations, his core monthly pay shouldn't be more than $760 per month. All the other money is bonuses, financial aid, and perks. Why do his colleagues earn less? Sambadishin wonders himself. I asked my economical deputy the same thing. Why is my salary higher than my colleagues? Why are professors driven into such state, into poverty? The prosecutor's office checks this twice a year, and it's legal. Sambadishin has avoided poverty. The head of the medical college has 4 hectares of land. His wife, also a medical worker, has 2 land plots, a house in Klemenski region, 2 houses in the Carpathians, a flat in Ternopil, 2 houses in Rivne, decent cars, decent bank accounts. The income of the AKFA company, co-founded by Sambadishin, is declared to be 0. The head has a decent salary, of course, but it's hard to buy this many real estate items even with it. The college hides more recent data about the income of its head. However, the students are pretty open about the alternative ways of getting rich. I first found out about the corruption there when I was forced to pay donations to the college. They gave us invoices. Everyone had the same amount to pay, around $115. In 2017, the college reported accepting $17,000 of charitable donations. They assured that the donations were paid willingly and that the money was spent on what the donors decided. Their willingness was forced. On the 1st of September, when our head first gathered us, he gave out paper slips with the number of the account where we had to send a specific amount of money. This is considered to be a charitable donation. At the end of his second year, Vadim had to retake his pharmacology exam. His first task ended with a direct demand from the professor. She gave me an F and handed the papers to the other commission members to sign. She told me to pay $250 to the college account and bring her a payment confirmation before retaking the exam. According to the college, Vadim had to pay for retaking skipped classes. The professor's work was estimated to cost $25 per hour by the college. After the payment was submitted, the professor would give additional classes. But in reality, you can skip a week, then come, pay around $30, and that's it, you're free. Payments for skipped classes gave the college $15,000. There are no legal grounds for charging the students for this. What the money is spent on is almost a mystery. Vadim was expelled after he refused to pay. Now, the young man is suing the college. Vadim started getting calls after the proceeding began, with threats. I need the one who studied at the Rivne Medical College. Who is calling? Who's calling Vitaly Petrovich? Who's that? I'd like to meet you to twist your balls off. Have nothing better to do? I want to twist your balls off. To study and to give bribes. To refuse and become an exile. Fear makes the student hide their faces because the price can be too steep for them and their families. The leadership of the college is sure that the students are lying, while the police didn't catch the professors taking bribes, but set them up themselves. I have a lot of respect for the work of our police. I know that they have a really tough job, they work hard. But in our police, only the dead don't take bribes. If we decided to approach each one, all of them would take a bribe. The level of corruption will surely influence the quality of education. Throughout the 4 years of medical college, I've never held a syringe in my hand during classes. I know a certain number of people who really had talent, who could have had a great future in healthcare, but they just couldn't pay the professor. They just got failed and expelled. And on the quality of their work. These people don't know anything mostly. They learn everything anew in the hospitals. They come and get, you're stupid, you don't know anything, get here, see, that's how it's done. That's how it goes.
Іди сюди, во, бачиш, як треба, давай роби. І от таким от образом, коротше, бо в основному їх туди теж не просто так приймають.
Also, they don't just get employed for free. People they work with get a part of their salary. This is profitable for those who work there, because what's the sense in working for $100 to $150 per month?
Кому це вигідно? Це вигідно тим, хто там працює. Того, що, смисл працювати за 3 чи за 4 тисячі в місяць.
Yevhen Honchar, an expert of the reanimation package of reforms, thinks that the problem must be tackled at the stage of enrollee selection. Even those who barely pass the external testing can be admitted to a medical university. The Ministry of Healthcare wants to increase the required minimum points to at least 150 out of 200. The expert thinks this will filter out all the undermotivated candidates for the white coat. This is a ridiculous situation. It's about a profession on which human life depends the most. and mostly weak doctors work there because they were weak students. At the same time, the students who studied well didn't get a job because of some corrupt deals. They often quit healthcare, moved abroad. A student of the Rivne Medical College admitted not wanting to work in healthcare anymore, as did many of our other interviewees. Regardless of whether they wanted to or not, they became a part of the corrupt system, which taught them anything but medical science. They don't show us how important this is, how responsible you must be. Like really, what did they teach us here? That you can buy anything? That you can sort it out? The 3 professors of the college who were charged with corruption were fined. 2 of them continue teaching students, but they don't only teach medical science, but also the realities of Ukrainian education system. That's all for today. You can watch any of our episodes on our YouTube channel. Write us on social media. If you have an interesting topic, feel free to email us. See you on air in a week. This was Dennis Bihus with the program Our Money. See you.
Денис Бігус та програма «Наші гроші». До зустрічі.